Hello and welcome to the Bournemouth squad and player guide. We are going to look today at the mighty Cherries. I think this will be a popular save in FM16 because obviously they are the smallest team to be in the Premiership for a number of years. So it's very similar to Blackpool when they came up a few years ago. We all know how they're doing now. So I think this will be a very popular one, and it's going to be a tricky one because obviously it would have been tricky already, but they have injuries, as we're going to get to. So this series is basically about looking at the Bournemouth squad, looking at their youth system, see if there's any players that are going to come through, and then we're also going to look at what the board expect us to achieve this season, and also sort of see the finances, how much money we've got to spend, how much wages we've got to spend. So let's get straight in. So I'm from Bournemouth. I know a lot about Bournemouth. My nephew has been going home and away to Bournemouth. Hang on, my dogs are fighting. Going to Bournemouth games for the last 15 years. We talk a lot about Bournemouth. So I do have quite a high knowledge level of this team. So, club chairman Jeff Mostyn, he has no... Because as you'll know, quite often when you take a job, they'll say, we want you to play attacking football or possession football or sign players or sign young players or something like that. So... That's great. You're free to do your own thing. Now this is going to be the horrible one, isn't it? When I click on this, here we go. So these are literally. Hang on. Hey, stop it, dogs. Sorry about that. These are. We're missing someone, but we'll get to that. Harry Artus, our best centre midfielder, injured, out for 5 months. Max Gradle, the brand new winger. Pace, he is probably our star player, out for 11 months. Tyrone Mings, record signing, plays left back and centre back, beast of a young player, out for 17 months. And Christian Atsu, on loan, out for 3 months. Yes. One thing I will look quickly as is apparently... Okay, so I imagine, I'm going to say this, we don't know, there has been a patch... came out today that they said this is pretty much almost the final patch, bearing a few bug splats for the game. But I imagine that, as most of you know that follow the Premiership, Wilson has another injury that's probably out for 7 months. So whether that will be in the full release game in 2 days' time, I don't know. Let's hope not, because it's going to be a nightmare otherwise. Okay, so let's go on to the finances. So Bournemouth, tiny team, tiny ground. I think they've just gone up to sort of 12,000 capacity in real life. Balance of 2 million, but that obviously will skyrocket with our low wages, which is $500,000 a week, with all the Sky money and the TV money. So we've got a transfer budget of 6 million, which is not too bad. That's okay. That allows us to bring 1 or 2 players in. And a wage budget of 565,000, so we've got 40,000 left to spend on the wages. That's okay. So performance, English Premier League. This is what they want you to achieve this season, so you can keep your job. Fight bravely against relegation. That's all you need, I think. That means you have the possibility of getting relegated and still keeping your job. If they say, don't get relegated, then obviously you're screwed if you do. FA Cup, 4th round, and the League Cup, 3rd round. Okay, so they're objectives. Kind of what we expected. Let's jump straight into the under-18s and see if there's any potential. I won't go through everyone. I'll let you discover any little hidden gems, but I will just go through the sort of top talents in the youth teams. So we have Corey Jordan, 17-year-old centre-back and right-back, English. Okay, moving swiftly on. That's yeah, not very good. He'll have a good career, but just not anywhere near the Premiership. Nobody else there really in the under-21s. We'll have a look in the under-18s. We'll have a look in the under-21s. Our brightest prospect is Bailey Cargill, who's a centre-back. He's half decent. He's 19 years old. He's not gonna be the next Vincent Kompany, but he'll be all right. I definitely look to loan him out this season. I'd maybe give him some tutoring if you're going to keep him, and if you are going to keep him, play him in some games. That's important. Give him some cup games. The odd sub appearance. He's okay. He's fine. I think he'll turn out to be a decent player. Why is he in the reserves? Okay. That's weird, isn't it? So we've loaned this guy in. Sorry, it just confused me why we put loan signings in the reserves. Thomas Andrade. Maybe we've got a future fee. No. Okay, so this is in our team. So he's okay. He's a youngster. Not sure why we loaned him. Doesn't make much sense. He's not ready for the first team, and we haven't got an option on him, so I would kind of send him back. And also, same with this Filippo Costa. So we have a future fee. Do we have a future fee on Thomas Andrade? Okay, 2 million. So we do have future fees on these two loan players. My mistake, sorry. Yeah. Don't know what to say, really. It's quite a weird one. You loan somebody in, so you can't loan them out to get experience. He's not going to be good enough to get much game time. Yeah, it's a tricky one. Same goes for both these players. They're not good enough. He's 20 years old. I'd send him this one back in a heartbeat. Maybe keep this guy for a while and see how we get on. So moving to the main squad. I won't go through every position like in detail. There's some players that people know about that I'll just we'll skim over the players that are, say, good. Or what we'll do is we'll look at the areas that might need strengthening, areas that maybe we could sell a player, make some money. We'll move Ryan Fraser, we'll have a quick look at him so you can see. He's on loan. He's loaned out at the moment. Good pacey winger. He's definitely somebody that can come back and do a job for you, but he's on loan first season, so we're mainly concentrating on first season. So we've got Artur Calamity Boric as our goalkeeper and Adam Federici. This is an unusual situation where we've got two players who are equally talented, and there's not an obvious first choice, which is quite nice, and they're both decent. So we'll look at Federici. Neither are young, but we haven't got a massive amount of money to spend, so I think these will do perfectly fine for the first season. It's up to you who you want to go with. You've got Federici there and Artur Boric. Both have their strengths and weaknesses. I'll let you decide. Then we go on to the right back. So, real life, our main right back is Simon Francis. He's a really good all-round player. He's probably one of the best players at the club. Good physicals, good all-round technicals and mentals. He's quite attacking. 15 crossings, always nice. You could probably comfortably play him at retraining to be a decent wing back if that's the formation you choose. 30 years old now, but he's definitely your first choice. Next up, you have Adam Smith. Versatile, plays all up and down both sides. You don't often see that in a player. Decent player. I think he's a good backup for your right back and left back, but he's never going to sort of displace Simon Francis in the short term. So left backs, we have Charlie Daniels, who is our main left back. It would have been Tyrone Mings, but we'll have a look at Tyrone Mings just so you can see, yeah, quality. When he comes back in 10 years' time, you can play him. Charlie Daniels, decent. It's decent. Remember, we've got 6 million, so it's not like we can go, okay, this guy needs replacing. He's okay enough. And we have a loan signing, Joe Bennett, who can compete with him. I definitely give him some chances. He's got a few weak areas. His first touch is poor. His decision making is not great. Vision's a little bit poor. I wouldn't play him further up the field, but he can do a job. I think I'd definitely give him some game time to see how he competes with Charlie Daniels. At centre back, we have our 4 main centre backs. Simon Francis can fill in and do a decent job. He is a very good centre back, but we need him at right. So we'll include Tommy Elphick, Elliot Ward, Sylvain Distin, and Steve Cook. So Steve Cook, decent all-round player, 24 years old, can still improve somewhat. Good tackler. His heading's fine. He's got good all-round stats. There's no real weakness in his game. He's not a superstar, but he's definitely one to keep. He'll probably be first choice, but we'll have a look at the others. Tommy Elphick is the captain of the club. Good leadership, teamwork and work rate as you'd expect from the captain. Another good all-rounder, lacking in pace a little bit, but he's perfectly fine to play. We next have Sylvain Distin, who obviously we got him from Chelsea, from Everton, and he's a decent player. He's got really good physicals. He's 37 now, so his physicals are amazing, but it's going to drop fast. He's on a 1-year contract, so I'd probably have him as for this year, and then let his contract run out. Marking is slightly lower than I'd like it, but every other stat is beastly. He's definitely a quality player. Those 3 players can rotate. Elphick, Distin and Cook. Find your best 2 there, I think it is a case of. And then as your fourth choice, you've got Elliot Ward. Decent player, decent backup. Nothing more really, 30 years old. That's about it. So defence I think is okay. We've got 2 left backs. We've got 2 right backs. We've got 4 centre backs. We've got Cargill in the youth team that can fill in if we have a bit of an injury issue. So that's good. So moving on to defensive midfield and centre midfield. We have Andrew Sermon, who's 28 years old. He's a half decent all-rounder. He plays centre mid. Can play defensive midfielder. He's one of those players that's kind of decent all round. There's no real weaknesses in his game, but no standout strengths. He'll do a fine job for you. He's 28, so he's got a good couple of years left in him before he starts dropping. Then we've got Ewan O'Kane, the Irish guy. He's not great. None of the players are worth that much, so it's not like this guy might not get enough games, so we'll sell him and make a load of money. He's worth 1.2 million. That's not going to get you much more than what he is, so there's not really worth selling. He's a decent backup as a midfielder centre, can also fill in a defensive midfielder, but he's got no tackling and marking and heading, so he's definitely a playmaker if you're going to play him in that role, but I definitely play him at centre mid if you are going to play him. Next up, we've got Harry Arter, who's our best midfielder. Unfortunately, he's out for, 5 months, but when he comes back, he'll be your first choice. Next up, we have ex-Newcastle kiddie, Dan Gosling. That's correct. Another central midfielder. Decent. Good stamina, work rate, which is good, which is nice. That's why he becomes a box-to-box midfielder. Seems to be his favourite role. Those stats really help him in that. Decent pace. Another sort of decent all-rounder without being anything special. Defensively, he's not fantastic. But yeah, 25 years old, he'll do a job for you. Next up in centre midfield, we have no one. So, Lee Tomlin. He's not. Yeah, no, he can't play there. So we have 2 people that play defensive midfield, and 4 that can play centre midfield. So that's okay, depending on your preferred formations. I think that's fine. Next up, we have the wingers. So your star player, pretty much, that's fit, is Matt Ritchie. He's a quality in real life. I think he might get picked up by a big club. The scouts underrate him. I think he's got to be at least 4-star in this team. But yeah, quality winger. Play him on the right wing. Inside forward's quite a good option for him because he's got a good shot on him. Got good long shots. Got good finishing. I probably would play him as an inside forward. But can play as a winger as well. Very versatile in that position. Yeah, definitely keep him. And then next up we have Mark Pugh. It's kind of a lesser version than Richie. He can play on both sides. Normally played as a left-hand side. Jesus. Also played as an inside forward. Whether you want to play 2, that's up to you, or just play him as a winger on the right, or like inside forward on the right as backup to Richie. Decent all-round player, 28. Not going to get any better. Not worth that much money to sell. He's a fine sort of squad player. Maxi Gradle. He's a quality player, but he's injured for 11 months. So, bum. Stanislas is our main sort of backup winger. Decent player. Again, inside forward, right wing. Yeah, good squad player. He's got decent pace. He's got decent stamina. He's decent. he is decent. In real life, he's mainly played in cup games and a sort of impact sub off the bench. And then we have Josh King. It's one of those random ones. He's 23 years old. He has ridiculously good physicals. 20 acceleration, 19 pace, 16 natural fitness, 16 agility, and then flair. Like, he's horribly lacking in other areas. I don't think he's going to make it, really. His work rate is poor. Okay, his determination is poor, and those are two factors that are important when seeing if a player's going to hit his potential ability. He's just not determined enough. His technicals are pretty dreadful. It's one of those random players. He's quite versatile. I wouldn't play him up front. He's got 11 finishing, 9 first touch, 9 composure. He's not a striker. I think this is absolute bullshit. But then what is he? Because all his technicals are crap. And so yeah, one of those players. Maybe retraining him. His crossing and stuff is pretty much as good as his finishing and striking. So maybe use his pace on the wing. I don't know. Find a spot for him. Maybe sell him. I'd probably look to sell him. Not now, but maybe January or something like that. He's definitely a weird one. You got Atsu on loan from Chelsea. On loan from Everton. No, Chelsea. I was right. Brain fart. He is out for 3 months, but he's a very good player on the wing. He's definitely one of your first choices. I'll probably play Atsu on the left and then Richie on the right. Then we have little chubby Lee Tomlin. Another quite interesting statted player. It's kind of the opposite of the other guy, is that he's got good technicals and mentals. His physicals are ridiculous. 2 natural fitness. 2! That's awful. Poor pace. He's going to get knackered. So he's going to be an impact player, isn't he, really? He's not going to last 90 minutes very often. But he's got decent technicals and mentals, so I'd definitely bring him on as an impact player. He's good enough to play all of these positions up top. But it's just his natural fitness lets him down. And 26 years old, he's not going to get a great deal better, but decent squad player. Then we got a new signing, Glenn Murray from Stoke. No, Crystal Palace. I knew I was something wrong there. He's your target man in your squad. Decent all-rounder, but with obviously he's quite tall. He's got good heading. Anticipation's good. Positioning is okay. First touch is good. Finishing is good. He's a decent player as a target man. That's obviously going to be his best spot in the team. And then you've got Jan Kermigan. He's kind of the same thing, really, and very similar stats. He's not worth any money, so he's not worth sort of selling. He is got decent mentals. Again, target man. Tokolo Ranti's become a bit of a running joke in to Bournemouth fans. He was bought for like 3 million. What are they saying on here? 2 million. It was more like 3. It was 3 million, I think. And he's been dreadful, as you can see. Yeah, he's all right in this. He's a decent backup striker. It's nice to have something different than a target man if you're playing 2 up top. And then obviously your star man here is Callum Wilson. He is going to be wanted. I don't know whether they're going to make him injured to start the game. They've said that this is pretty much it for the database, but there could be some final tweaks, and his injury could be one of them. But if not, you've got a beast of a player here. This is going to be your star man. So striking options are good. So let's have a quick overview. So we've got 6 million to spend, wasn't it? So the squad itself is quite balanced. There's no areas that immediately shout out that you need to be fixing. I think if you want to play with a defensive midfielder, such as a ball-winning midfielder or an anchor man, then you might need to look into getting that, because Sermon or O'Kane are not really defensive midfielders, or not at least defensive ones. Defensives. The double Ds. Yeah, I think you've got a pretty balanced squad. £6 million. I'd go defensive midfielder. I'd look. We've got the injuries. Maybe another winger, and maybe sell one of the ones you don't really like. Or just look, because you're a small club, look for a couple of good loan signings. I think would be my strength. I probably would save a lot of the money. Hopefully build up a bank for next season, or you know, see what happens in January. But yeah, decent squad. It's going to be a fun challenge. I think it's going to be a really fun challenge. I think they've got a half decent team here that you'll fight for. You've got some bad injuries. It's going to be a fun challenge. I think you guys should give this one a go. I definitely will be, whether it be YouTube or Twitch or just in my own personal time. I think that's about sums it up. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please let me know in the comments what you, if you're going to do the Bournemouth challenge, or and who you're looking to replace. It's not an obvious one as to who needs replacing. So it should be a fun one. Please subscribe, and thank you for all the support so far. You've been amazing. I'm going to now move on to the next team, which I have no idea who I'm doing yet. Nope, not got a clue. One of them, a Premiership team of some description. I have a playlist set up with all the Premiership teams I've done so far. I think I'm up to 8 or 9, so get on that. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. I love you all. Goodbye.